That is bright, isn't it? I can't actually see anyone.
It's quite bright, yeah. That's in the limelight, isn't it?
Oh, I think we're on.
Are we on? Yes, we're on.
Testing, wow.
Good.
Are we,
Good to go.
I'm looking, are we good to start? We get the thumbs up from people? We have got the thumbs up.
You'd like us to start?
Yeah, we're good. Okay. Should we do it?
Yeah, let's do it.
Cool. So, it's 2019. 3 members of Mountain Base make their way to Switzerland for one last year of the season. It's been a great season so far. We head to Switzerland. We head to the Eiger, a very famous a spot, a bit of a mecca for jumpers. It's at the end of the season. Myself and Dave and Josh, we head out there. Just absolutely just a stunning place. Dave's been there many a time for me. Just what an experience. The Eiger itself, the exit point is what we call the Mushroom. It's a very iconic exit point and very interesting to get to. Not only the climb, which is about 3 to 4 hours of climbing. I'm not the climber myself, that's Dave's sort of experience, so he helped me and Josh get up there. The climb itself, as you can see, it's pretty gnarly. However, the exit
wasn't the
point,
north face, we should just...
Yeah, we pretty much, we took the easy route up, but again, climbing along the way itself. That is the Mushroom. To get onto the Mushroom, you've got a steel cable, you've got to sort of get across it, slide across it, and you've got Dave doing something he's always wanted to do, which was hang off it.
I love a good dangle, and where better to dangle than on the Eiger Mushroom, right above the north face, which is, it's a twitchy place to be, let's just say that.
So you do get people jumping across if they're feeling brave, not me. I slid across as well. The preparation, before we do any of these missions, we always like to check the weather. That's really key. Again, end of the season, sometimes the elements can be against us. Yeah.
It was the very end of the season, and we'd kind of had some intel that maybe the season had finished. Yeah. But, you know, part of the Mountain Man-based thing is to, you know, make the judgment, and we still had a window, but we kind of needed to get this done by about midday of the day that we climbed. So we had a bit of a kind of a slim window of opportunity.
Yep, so we're all gearing up, and the great thing about having out Dave with the team, he looks after all the stuff that we don't really need to know about, but he's there just to help us. So we gear up, we get on top, and then what do you see, Dave?
Well, the weather window that we've got, like I say, it was quite tight, and I looked over my shoulder and I could just see this cloud system coming in. And I mean, that's all well and good because the lads are going to jump off, but actually I'm not going to be jumping off, I'm going to be climbing back down. So, you know, that's the kind of the cross I bear often in the team.
Yeah. So, we jumped. What an amazing experience. It's something that I've always wanted to do. I've got a big tracking suit there. Wingsuit flying or proximity flying scares the hell out of me, so I've got a nice little tracking suit. What a jump. I landed. As a lot of people know here, that I do like my social media. Unfortunately, on opening, my camera fell off. So that's why you didn't see it. We landed, me and Josh absolutely celebrated, and we just sat there for about 10, 15 minutes, just taking like everything in. We gathered all our equipment up, and we started walking. And we thought, we'll take one last look at what we accomplished. Turn around, the Eiger is no longer there. It's gone. So, and I actually just turned to Josh and said, I think we just killed Dave.
Well, as you can see, they didn't just kill Dave, but it was a bit of an epic experience trying to get back down. We've got a fixed rope section to climb, and yeah, as per normal, Dave's left alone up the Eiger without a paddle, if you like, and I've got to find my way back. But I did find my way back, got down. That's maybe a tale for the pub, but eventually regrouped with the lads. I'm covered in dust. I think I must have bum slid half the way down the Eiger. And you know, got back to meet with the team and sort of debrief how it went. Yeah,
it was great to see Dave alive. I was really happy about that. Mission success. What we like to do after every single jump is just have a little bit of a debrief talk about things. And safety has always been paramount to the team. Leaving up Dave wasn't really the best option that we wanted to do, but that's what he does. And it's sort of like, why can't we jump with Dave? I mean, he doesn't jump himself. That's going to take you a bit of time to get through that process. So we thought, we'll get a tandem. We're getting there. He'd love that. It'd be great. So that was like in the pub. We thought, yeah, that's a great idea. But the seed was sown. And I think, what was the operation called in the end?
Operation...
Don't leave Dave.
Don't leave
Dave behind, wasn't it?
Dave behind. That's become the unofficial motto of the team.
So that's really where the idea started from there. So base. How many base jumpers we got in the audience? Come on, if you're base jump, you like to tell people and stuff like that. That's because there's not many people, so I can maybe rab on a bit more anyway. So what is base? It's an acronym. It stands for building, antenna, span, bridges, and earth. If you're old school, to get your base number, you have to do all 4, and then you can send away from it. But in my eyes, if you do any of them, you're still a base jumper. Yeah. So what do we do?
So pretty awesome stuff, as you can see. I mean, the UK has a wealth of opportunity for all this type of stuff, and that's where Mountain Man Base really kind of came to the fore. Founded in Britain. A little bit of a funny backstory. So we're now quite a big collective. There's a kind of good, strong core team. But back about 5-6 years ago, I'm not a base jumper per se. I'm more of a mountaineer and a photographer, and I just happened to be planning to get more into kind of climbing photography out in North Wales, which is near where I live. And I remember I was in Llandudno, the Great Orme. Anyone knows kind of the North Wales coast. It's just quite an imposing place with cliffs, but they're not very big. And I just remember I was there on a picnic, actually, family picnic, and I saw these 2 guys kind of peering over this edge. And I kind of went over to them and said, what have you lost? Have you lost something? And said, no, we're going to jump off. I said, jump off what? And I evidently gathered that this is base jumping in the UK, and to this, this point, I had no idea you could do this. So I said, just give me a second, I'll get my camera. So I went and got my camera, took some shots, and basically from there I started following certainly Mountain Man, who's our colleague Josh was the original Mountain Man, and followed him around, living in a van with him, taking pictures and just starting to kind of get a sense of what base was about. And I think around about this time, Hans then sort of joined the team and we started to grow the collective. So actually, Hans, you want to tell us a bit about your background? Yeah,
so my skydiving background, I started 6 years ago at Tilstock. I know we've got a Tilstock collective. Excellent stuff. Really where I progressed was I joined the military as a junior instructor, I was junior staff, and then gained all my qualifications all the way up to examiner. I know Brucey, a lot of you know Brucey, he does call me the destroyer of dreams when you come on courses. But if you pass with me, you've got that good tick in the box. In terms of base jumping, I've been jumping roughly about 10 years. It was a very slow start, just with my career and all the rest of it. It does say expedition leader on the board,
But I think that's more about booking Airbnbs.
Yeah, Dave always says, expedition leader, you just book Airbnb. So I was like, there's a bit more to that than Dave. I look after the safety, I look after the team members, all the rest of it, because base jumping for us is about being free and doing what you want to do, but as a collective, our ethos is looking after each other, and safety is really paramount. We will do high-risk sports, even skydiving. We don't like to lose friends. Yeah.
You want to tell our friends here about a little mishap you had?
Yeah, I did. I mean, some of you are aware that I did have a bit of a mishap in 2020. Again, part of what we do is we open up new exit points. Stupidly, I went by myself. Okay, on the very top, I had phone signal. I jumped, misjudged landing by roughly about a foot, and it almost cost me my leg. The scary thing was, got my phone out, my phone signal. My car's 300 meters away in the middle of nowhere. I had no other option to literally crawl all the way to my car with a broken leg. Got to my car, checked my phone signal, still no phone signal. I'm gonna have to drive to hospital. You're probably asking yourselves, was it an automatic? It wasn't. I had to change gear 5 times with a broken leg. That's, you know, just horrible to think about. But the recovery was absolutely awesome. I had Dave, the team, all family members, and some of you, helped me through that recovery. And then within 9 months, I think it's the top left-hand picture there, that's me coming back only after 9 months of recovery. And
so it was a hard psychological recovery.
Yeah, so what I didn't tell Dave is that we were just going to go back and look at the site. I actually snuck my base rig inside the car. He had no idea that I was going to go jumping. And literally, as I pulled that out and walking up, he just thought I had just my normal sort of bag on the back. It was an interesting view, wasn't it?
It was great. I mean, we made a little film about it, which is on our website, but also we've got a magazine article out of it as well, and just, such a great story. I mean, a funny thing, which Hans doesn't always talk about, or maybe he does to certain people, is while he was recovering in hospital, he took up knitting. Do you want to tell us about your house?
Yeah, I mean, I never thought in my life I'd take up knitting and the rest of it, but I'd learned how to make beanies. Again, thank you for some of you that bought them. And yeah, so it was like another sort of skill inside it. So yeah, a bit more about Dave.
So that's a nice segue, actually. So talking about hats, well, I wear many hats in the team. I don't talk about myself as a base jumper. I'm not officially a base jumper. I'm more of a mountaineer, a photographer, also a writer. So I've got some magazine articles out there. And to be honest, I mean, I've been along on perhaps 200 base jumps, maybe more than that. 50 exits across the UK, so all sorts of different locations. And in the last few years, when I've been getting to grips with the base side of things, I'm starting to understand more what makes a base jumper tick, in as much as you can do that. I'm also a psychologist as well, so I study...
Right, I'm so sorry. Are you thinking you did some skydiving?
Well, I did, yeah. So basically, after all this time watching other people jump, I kind of thought, and being stuck up the eye, I thought, well, it's about time, I guess, I got airborne. So I thought, well, I don't really want to have to go down that route per se. So I'll take up paragliding. So that's a slightly more accommodating thing for what I want to do. So I'm just starting to get into paragliding last year, and then Hans rings me up and he says, what you do next Wednesday? And I'm thinking, I think I'm going paragliding. I said, oh, why? What you got in mind? He says, you're doing AFF next Wednesday. And I'm like, oh, brilliant. Well, what's AFF? And cut to a week later, and I'm jumping out of a plane with Hans. He's good like that. He likes to get me in the air, and he did. And that's me from Tilstock, in fact, jumping out of the plane at 10,000 feet. And yeah, so I'm indebted to Hans for getting me airborne. And then, of course, a month later, I get a phone call. What are you doing next week? We're going base jumping. So anyway, there's a progression here. I don't know what's next. Am I going to space at the end of the year? I don't know, maybe. So yeah. So and just as I mentioned, I'm a writer. I'm a scientist as well. So I've got really behind the whole base jumping side of things. I'm fascinated by the mentality. But as a scientist, I want to understand the kind of mechanisms of the brain, how it functions under stress, and I learn so much. So I'm all about promoting, base jumping and mountain man base in a good light to kind of get rid of some preconception, I guess, which I would have had as well before getting involved in the base community. Okay. So yeah, so do you want to tell us a bit about the accomplishments of
base jumping back in the 80s, 90s, it was very underground. I know at some drop zones you weren't even allowed to talk about it. So it was very much, you had to go around, sneaking around, and it was sort of like, exit points were very secret. We've come a long way since then, safety, all the rest of it. So over the years, we've come up with some of the base jumpers have come up with a base guide. In that guide, it tells you where exit locations are, how to get there, how to set up, heights, all that sorts of thing. 2018, there were 53 exit points, okay? As a team, Mountain and Base, as of today, we opened up over 100 exit points. I'm so proud of the team for what we achieved with only one little boo-boo, and that was by myself, okay? But no dramas with those, so it was an awesome
yeah, and as you saw on the previous show reel, like some of the UK exits, the places we've got in the UK are fantastic, and we're particularly proud of, you know, accomplishments such as getting all the 3 highest peaks, you know, the highest peak in England, Wales and Scotland. So our colleague Josh jumping off Scarfell, finding the highest kind of base exit off Snowdon, and the Ben, you know, Ben Nevis in Scotland. It's such an iconic place, and we've done it in winter and summer. But just as a team, I mean, I remember early on in my journey with Mountain Man Base, our colleague Josh sort of sending me a video, and evidently he just jumped Ben Nevis. I'm like, oh wow, I was a bit disappointed not to have been there when he did it. And I thought, that's brilliant. And then a couple of hours later, or maybe 3-4 hours later, he sends me the video again. I'm like, why has he sent me it again? Oh no, he'd gone back up and jumped it again. He's so like into it and whatever. So, you know, these are the sort of things we're really proud of. And just to experience the UK with this perspective, it's blown my mind. You know, it's really taking things to the next level. But there's a fun side to it as well, as you'll see on the news clip in the next section.
The glass ceiling at 10 to 8.
Excellent. I love a picture in the papers, and this one is Hans Donner. Can you see him there? So basically, he's launched himself here off Arthur's Seat. Of course, this is the extinct volcano standing above Edinburgh, and it's the first ever time someone's parachute jumped off it. He's 39. Apparently, he's an ex-serviceman, and he landed safely among watching spectators.
Safely.
So, yeah. I know, I have a fear. Could you imagine though, if you didn't jump off far enough? Or if you just, I mean, also landing amongst the spectators, I'd panic if I was a spectator as well.
But I'm trying to picture Arthur's Seat. It doesn't feel like a place that has enough of a drop to be able to jump off to do the... Is that
to actually, yeah, to set your parachute off. Well, anyway, he did it and he's fine, so there we are.
That's the main
thing.
Yeah, so I love media, the good and bad. We'll come to that in a few seconds. So Arthur's Seat, another fantastic jump. We did 2 exit points on that one again. The first time it's ever been jumped. For us as a team, we like to say if you do the exit point or you do the first jump, you get to name it. I think it was
Queen's Jewels.
Queen's Jewels and
Tea with the Queen.
Tea with the Queen as well. So yeah, but what an awesome experience. I'm ex-military, and it was nice to actually jump on Armed Forces Day. Looking back at the video, is it Steph McGowan, I think it was?
McGowan,
do you
yeah.
remember what she said about the crowd? The crowd down there, it was just
They were going nuts.
They were absolutely going insane. It was literally one of the most hardest jumps I've ever done. We've got a bit of a video there. I mean, she said, you know, well, landing in the crowd. We pride ourselves on being the very best. Let's see how the crowd reacts. Oh, there's no one there. All right, okay. So making the point of this video, it's very easy for the media just to get things absolutely, completely wrong. And that's where Dave really comes in and pushes the focus and get on the right information. As we all know, skydivers, we used to get quite a bit of bad press. It's getting better. And again, with base jumping, we're trying to promote that good, safe culture and all the rest of it.
There is actually a cyclist in there. You can't probably see it. But actually, I think that was Steph McGovern herself.
So, yeah. A great jump, but as I say, it just goes to show what the actual media can do itself.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, that was a few years ago. Each year we're doing more and more exciting stuff, and we are getting our stuff out in the press. You know, it's shameless plug there, but you know, there's a real appetite for that. And last summer we got some great stuff in Scotland, and we're doing kind of bigger and better, and we actually went across several of the islands off the western coast of Scotland, such as Skye, jumping new cliffs there, jumped the Isle of Mull for the first time, which, you know, very proud it's in the Daily Star. I mean, who wouldn't be proud to get their photograph in the Daily Star? And the Isles of Egg. You know, some of these islands are not so well known, but you'd be amazed when you get out there on these missions. So we're all about these missions and pushing the next sort of boundaries and so on. And what I want to go into from there is the kind of heritage and pay homage to the past and some of the pioneers. Now, a particular person that we really sort of like to shout out is Andy Guest. Many people here will know who Andy Guest is, very, you know, prominent in the skydiving scene.
I don't think many people know how much he put into the sport.
Exactly. Yeah, and back in the, well, just over 40 years ago, the 40th anniversary of the first British base jumps, Andy was a very key figure, and he got the British base #1. And his kind of innovative approach to base jumping was acknowledged by Carl Benish, who is, you know, the founding father of US base back in the 80s, who said, Andy, you've made the world jumpable. You know, so really attesting to the capacity to do low altitude base jumping, but still spectacular stuff. So we went back to be ahead where this all kind of started in the 80s as the first British cliff, or the first British base exit from an Earth object, if you like. And we went back with Andy. We made a little film. We talked with Andy about the heritage and how it came about. And this little clip will show you how he jumped it back then, and then he jumped it again with us.
Nice one, Andy.
Awesome, mate. You still good, I can see you on your feet and your frequency and stuff, like, I see you having a laugh.
I would like to say I'm not sure who was more nervous on that particular jump, because me and Dave were at the top organising everything, and I think we just look at each other with our sort of...
Yeah. Well, just that moment of kind of, you know, tying together the history and the modern. And this, I love this quote from Andy. It's in the film that we made about it called The Moment. And this speaks to me as a psychologist and, you know, someone very interested in the mindset and mentality and how we can kind of get into that moment, if you like. So you can be on that exit point for 5 minutes, battling all these voices in the head, and all of a sudden, a calmness comes over you, and you realise, it's good, let's do it. We used to call that the moment. And again, I mean, that's particularly poignant to me because I went back to be ahead with Hans and the team in last year in August, and I got to stand on that edge myself, exactly where Andy had jumped from and was talking about at the moment. And as a psychologist as well, I wanted to be able to get myself into the right headspace, because actually all this journey of mine through the base community, and it's cool to be involved with, you know, have a kind of vicarious experience of base jumping. And I like to think I'm adventurous, and as a psychologist, like I said, think that I kind of know what it's all about. But until you actually do it yourself, you're not really kind of practicing what you preach, if you like. So I'll just give you a little overview of the science, and this is something I'd talk about in a lot more detail and write about. So I'm a psychologist, I'm also a neuroscientist, and I'm very interested in the physiological sort of response to stress and how we overcome that. What's the mindset we use, what's the kind of techniques we can use to get into that headspace. And I actually had to put this into practice myself. Now, a quick explanation of this graph. So we're looking at heart rate. I'm actually wearing a chest heart strap at the moment, which is measuring ECG. And what we can do with that data, we can translate that into an index of stress, if you like. I'll kind of keep it in quite a graspable kind of way. And what's happening, where the graph's dropping low, this actually corresponds with what's called low heart rate variability. And the more variable your heart rate, the more you can deal with stress. You can bring calm into the system. This is based on research with skydivers, which has shown that when we have this stress response, we go into what's called the fight or flight, which we're all familiar with. And that's kind of like the seesaws tipping towards a high arousal state, intense. You're kind of going into this sort of instinctive response. But actually, research with skydivers has shown that experienced skydivers can balance this system out, something called the parasympathetic nervous system, but I won't go into depth on the terminology. But that basically is balancing with a calming aspect to the system with that kind of, you know, fight or flight. Actually, something they call excite and delight. So you'll be happy to know when you jump out of a plane, you're being excited and delighted, apparently, and you're co-activating these two parts of the system. So that's something I study. And I want to bring that kind of information back into the team, which is something I do to help.
I must admit, when we first started working with Dave, there's nothing like being on the edge of an exit point and then Dave coming in, how you feeling? And I need to focus on what's going on, but over the time it has got better, and we call the moment and the cogs.
Yeah.
You know,
tell them about the cogs, please.
So Dave works with us really well. I have this thing, I call it the cogs. So my moment is called the cogs. It's when I get to an exit point, I'm not going to go into all these. I've got like a series of cogs, maybe 5 or 6, depending on the type of jump, and they're spinning really quick until they all line up, and I'm happy with everything. Then I'm good to go. And sometimes that can take a minute, a couple of seconds, some jumps, 5 minutes, okay? It all really depends. And again, having Dave on that team is, you know, he's translating it so it just makes a bit more sense, and it's able just to push us that little bit more.
Yeah. And obviously, as a psychologist, I'm the epitome of calm. I can put all these techniques into practice, as you can see, as on my jump. Which is, and this is part of the thing with having the video imagery, because you know, you watch the video and you think, oh, I was quite calm, and then you freeze frame it, and you say, what the hell is my hair doing? I have no idea. But yeah, so that's part of what I do, and you know, I'm happy to talk to people more about this in the bar later or whatever. I just want to shout out to my brain. So it's so interesting to me, this. I go and learn how to analyze my own brain. So I've actually imaged my own brain, not while base jumping, but that's in the lab, reliving the base jumping. And I actually believe, just to plug for what I'm doing, I believe this is useful for looking at PTSD and such and so forth. So I do wear many hats. I'm not just the photographer, the mountain person, the carrying all the hats down, etc. I'm also a sort of a brain scientist as well. So that's enough about me and what I'm doing. Let's find out more now about the whole Tandem process and the preparation for the project.
Thanks, Dave. Yeah, so as we said, this really started back in 2019 with, you know, don't leave Dave behind. We reached out to manufacturers. They do make them. It is a very hard process. You just can't just go and say, yeah, I want that Tandem. They won't give it to you. You actually have to prove you have the capability. Some of the manufacturers will even make you go do a course on how to use the equipment. Again, like I said, my background is a Tandem instructor. That helps a lot. When we got the equipment, we checked it over. We actually even gave it to some riggers to have a look at it. Again, we are no way in shape affiliated to British Skydiving. I have to make that very apparent. For me, it was just getting that little tick in the box to give me that warm, fuzzy feeling to make sure the equipment was up to standard, because at the end of the day, I'll be taking him at some point, or, you know, Josh on the very first one. Got the equipment. It's very easy just to rush into things, and it was like, with that examiner head on, being all sensible, we planned everything out meticulously, didn't we? It was like we had a set of SOPs and a procedure to do everything. So that's it in the back garden there. That's Dave trying it on for the first time. Again, wearing that heart monitor, and I think it pretty shot up, didn't it? Because he realised what was coming, you know, quite soon.
What you didn't show in the video is me, actually, you're carrying me with my legs. And
like a little baby.
Like, a bit like, if you've seen Austin Powers, a bit like Mini-Me on the front.
Yeah. And then it was really about finding the right location. Yeah. Before that, okay, we've got a base canopy, Tandem. It is absolutely huge. Just can't jump off it. We need to go down the process. So meet Pumba. Pumba was donated to me by a good friend. We started with 40 kilograms, making up to 60 grams on each jump. So maybe about 20 jumps overall. Sometimes I would carry all that weight up to the exit point by myself. Other times we had the team doing it. I got pretty fit and strong and healthy over the season, but I probably need to get back to that at some point.
We'd love to have brought Pumba along,
yeah.
But sadly Pumba's no longer with us.
Yeah, so on the final test jump, we took Pumba didn't. He survived, but again we have this van life. The day before the live, we had Pumba with us, the live jump. As we're getting ready, do it in the morning, showered, all that sort of stuff, we put Pumba, I don't know who it was, I'm not mentioning any names, we put Pumba on top of the van. And when we got to the location, we're like, well, where's Pumba gone? And so unfortunately, he's no longer with us. So.
There has been reports of sightings on Dartmoor, and I think a fox took a fancy to Pumba, so there might be some little Pumba cubs.
Yeah. So again, like I say, for us, it's all about location. Anyone can jump off a building, a bridge. Anyone can base jump. It's how you fly your canopy, okay, to the ground safely, what really matters. So it's all about location. So what we talked about before, you know, those 100 plus exit points, during that process was looking for the right, okay, landing area for us and making sure that we've got all the procedures in that place that we needed to do. This is one of the test jumps that we did. It was up in the Lake Districts. I think it was about jump number 15, this particular one. Again with Pumba. Yeah, I was quite excited about that one. Yeah, once you do jump off, okay, in effect, it is a tandem landing. Yeah, what you don't really notice on that particular landing, it was on a downhill slope, which made it quite interesting as well. So I'm really happy with that. So, oh, I do apologise. So this was the last jump that we did. We went back to Beer Head. That was going to be the location for the very first tandem base jump. We got there early in the morning with the team to do the final jump. Unfortunately, due to weather conditions, it was really against us. We didn't get to jump. Also the tide as well, being a beach landing. We pretty much waited all day, and then, as you can see there, it got dark. So the final test jump, just to really test us, it was actually a night jump. Landed, absolutely jubilant. I knew what was going to happen next, because the very next day, we're going to go live. Going back a step, again, I had to carry all that 60 kilograms of weight up to the very top. Dave was very kind to meet me about 100 meters from the top.
Yeah, I felt like it was my duty to help him that last 100 meters.
Yeah. So for myself, it was all about the safety. So we all know about winds. We have limits within skydiving. Again, it was down to me to set those standards. For any of the jumps that we were doing, be it with Pumba, bless his soul, or any of the live candidates or team members, should I say, I set that winds, I believe it was to 0 to 3 knots, and that was the margin. Okay, on each and every test jump that we did, we got really lucky and nothing out of that at all. Yeah. I'm just going to go back a bit. I get excited. I like to go on a little bit too much sometimes. For me, the jump, we got the live jump itself, we got there the next day, the whole team was involved. We went through a whole dubious process of walking, talking, and just making sure everything was good to go. It was going to be an afternoon, so that gave us plenty of time just to rehearse things. And to be honest, it's one of the most incredible jumps I've ever done in my lifetime. I'm not going to talk too much because sometimes I do like to ramble on, because I want to get to this, and then we'll talk a bit afterwards.
Okay, everyone ready? Ready. Okay, good to go. In 3, 2, 1, see ya!
We pretty much were down there for about 20 minutes. We were just, I was just lost for words. I could hear Dave just shouting, just everything at the top. What an absolute achievement, getting goosebumps as we speak now. What you don't really see on that video is off to the right is we had, the rest was it.
Oh, sorry, yeah, the Devon Coast Guard were there. Yeah, so I was so wrapped up in the moment. Yeah, no, actually, I mean, part of the safety aspect of us planning these jumps, especially in the sea cliff areas, is to get in touch with the Coast Guard. The Coast Guard were already there doing a rescue drill, so we actually liaised with them, and they were like more than happy to be there and witness what we did. And even passers-by, there was a feature in the newspaper came out a week later, and a passer-by had been found by the journalist and said, oh, it was a very professional outfit, they had radios. So luckily we conveyed that professionalism and all that kind of thoughtful kind of approach to the public as well, which was good for that.
Yeah. So after we celebrated, we started walking back up. I mean, it was just, you know, stories, just everything was just going on. Everyone had big smiles on their face. As we got up to the top to meet Dave, he was the only person that was not smiling because I think he knew what was going to happen next.
I knew what was coming next. Yeah, and there wasn't enough time to do my jump that day because the light had failed by now. So now I had the prospect of all the next day because, again, similar weather conditions. The morning was no good, so we had to wait all day. So I had plenty of time to practice my own practice what I preach as the psychologist in me and get myself in the mindset, you know, monitored my heart. And,
I would like to say as well, I've never heard, Dave likes to talk, okay, he's a better talker than me. I've never heard someone so quiet. It really was.
Yeah. Actually, funny enough, it reminded me of my the day of after my ground school at Tilstock when I was likewise had to wait till the evening to actually get my skydive out of the way. But no, it was fantastic, as you'll see on the clip now.
Okay, good to go. In 3, 2, 1. See ya.
I find that a bit cringeable at the end, but you know, it was just the raw emotion, and luckily we've cut it there because I then go into this kind of high-pitched squeaking thing. And the only time I've ever done that is when I've dived on scuba diving on helium. But yeah, it was fantastic sort of experience and yeah, culmination of a long journey.
So what a process to actually go through from the point where, you know, we left Dave on top of the Eiger to the point now Operation Don't Leave Dave has become an success. So a big hand for Dave. I think pretty much, I think it takes a lot for someone to sort of be strapped, especially onto the front of me, and then put his faith into it. But as I said, he's been around quite a bit.
Yeah, privileged to have been involved. And again, you know, just getting a sense of what base is about. You know, I've done it a very odd way around. Most people would do skydiving for several years and get into base. I just kind of hang around with base jumpers enough to kind of realise, okay, I'm inevitably going to do one, and I did, and yeah, fantastic.
Yeah, so what's really next for Base Tandem? It really is, it was meant for the team. There is a possibility that we could take people in the future, okay, open it up to the public, but legislation, I'm up to here, I'm swamped in it. It is just a complete nightmare. And you can imagine insurance is quite fun as well. I'm starting to learn that process, but we're way off that yet. But for us, it really is about, you know, just making sure that we can take Dave and other team members and the rest of it. We're trying to get an association together, and that's not a base association, that is a tandem base association. Again, trying to make sure that we get the right responsibility, okay, for what we're doing. There's also big projects. Unfortunately, we can't talk about what we're doing just yet. That's
exciting stuff on the
exciting stuff, so just keep watching. Okay, there are some stuff going. Maybe if I have a few beers a bit later, you could probably let me know, but no, I'm on tight lips. We do run base courses as well. Okay, we do have a certain criteria that you do need to meet, as in skydiving. If you are interested, we do run them in Europe throughout the year. If you like what you see, you're very welcome to come and chat to us. Would I recommend it? Not really. Okay, it is scary, but it's brought me here. So.
Yeah, so we just want to finish with one other extra thing.
Whoa.
Hold your horses. So again, last year was phenomenal. We did so many things. I mean, the tandem was obviously the culmination of all that. great stuff in Scotland. You know, we're all about first. Well, we're not chasing firsts for the sake of it, but we're out there pioneering stuff just because we're so into this stuff and seeing what's next on the horizon. So I believe this is another first that's been done. I was up in Glencoe with some of the lads, and I believe it's the first CF jump with a flag, base jump with a flag.
To also add to that, we believe that we've done a lot of firsts. I'm not going to be big-headed enough to think that there are obviously old base jumpers that have probably done this, but this is the first documented. So this is not trying to put anyone else down, but this is what, as I said, this is that we believe that is the first.
Yeah, well, we're so enthusiastic to be doing these things. It's just amazing to do this. So let's just see this clip.
Any CF jumpers? Any crew jumpers, crew dogs in the crowd? No? Okay.
So that was such a proud, again, for me, so proud to see that happening. You know, I've been upschooled in all these things. I have no knowledge about skydiving, really, base jumping, anything, but it's just great to have absorbed all this and become part of this kind of expo as well. So yeah, that's us. That's the Mountain Man base story to date, and the rest of the story is yet to be written. Obviously, you can see our social media if you're interested to find out more what we're doing and talk to us more. And yeah, I think it's fantastic.
Yeah, for myself, I just want to first of all say thank you very much to British Skydiving for letting us have the stage and talk about our passion, which is base jumping, and it's quite nice to get it over. But also a big thank you for myself, Dave, and the rest of the actual team for everyone that's helped us on this journey. A few of the lads, they've actually given up their full-time jobs to be with us and help us to get where we are today. And it just gets better and better and better, and it's just really happy about the team and the way it's going. So, but again, a very big thank you for turning up and watching us as well. So yeah, thank you very much.
So with that, we can open to the floor for questions to find out more.
Is there any questions at all?
Just interested to know if you've done any jumps on the Isle of Wight.
I personally have, and I don't.
There have been jumps, yeah. I've not been down there.
I just wondered if you guys.
Yeah, Mountain Man Base certainly has, yeah. I've not been along on any of them. I couldn't tell you which sites per se, but definitely.
Yeah. All good. Anything else? No? Guys, thank you very much. Oh, you've got
You mentioned the course, and there was some criteria. What criteria?
So we specify 200 skydives. We do take people that have lower jumps, but that would involve one of the instructors coming to your drop zone and watching how you fly your canopy. Like I said, anyone can jump off, it's how you fly that canopy, and we have a bit of a chat with you and get to know. But
certain destinations that you...
Say again, sorry?
Are there like destinations that you...
Where we run the courses? Yeah. So we probably run the courses in the south of France. So yeah. But if you want to get some more information, you can speak to us, or you can go to the website and you can find out all the details there. That's not a drama, yeah? Go for it.
What kind of wing loading?
What kind of wing loading?
Yeah.
So wing loading, it's very much different. It's not skydiving. It's very different. The canopies we use, my normal canopy is a 120. My base canopy is a 285. It's way much bigger. I'm not going to go too much into it, but it is completely different. And I know that you're very excited about doing it. We're showing that. We do have a chart, and then literally when you decide that you're going to go for it, we go through that whole process. It's not just here's a rig, you jump, we weigh you, and all that, again, that safety aspect, which is, again, really important to the actual team. Yeah.
Awesome. Cheers.
No worries. Anyone else?
Any more?
Yes.
Are you going to?
Oh, there we go.
Are you going to do a solo based?
That's a big question, isn't it? I don't know. Well, the Mountain Man base story's still got a chapter to write. Maybe I'm in that. I don't know. We'll see. It depends if I get a phone call or can't.
It was hard enough to get him to do a skydive. It really was. It was like, no, I'm paragliding. I was like, it really was. But for someone to go from paragliding, skydive to base jumping, was it within a month? Was it a month?
Yeah, something like that.
So
it was
a month.
A blur. Let's just say it was a blur.
Yeah, it was good.
But who knows? I don't seem to be able to say no to things.
Yeah. Cool. I think, are we...
Yeah.
Yeah.
Up there.
Hi, Hans.
Oh, do you recognise you? How do you, Jacko?
Hi mate, so it's good to see that like all the stuff that we taught you at JSAT and that, you know, you've brought it into your safe systems of work there, and I'm glad that I developed you like that. But like, how do you wrestle with the ethical question of like you're inspiring other people to do stupid shit? Like, how do you convey to them that you have a huge safe system behind you and all of your experience and all that sort of stuff?
If anyone ask me about base jumping, the first thing I do is I show them all the horrible stuff. How many instructors are there? Yeah, what's the thing they show you when you go on those British skydiving courses? All the horrible stuff, okay? If you come to me and say you want a base jump, I will show you the horrible videos. They are horrific. I've lost quite a few friends over the years. It is one of the most dangerous sports in the world. Over a period of time, we've got lesson plans. We've got a set of SOPs that we run to, and we deal with weather and all that aspects of it as well. In terms of I guess when you say about the ethical side, I think it's that mindset, because you know when you like look at people that talk about skydiving, it's like that's crazy, you skydive, and then you go to that next level of base jumping, and then you get people who go, oh, that's crazy. So it just depends on where your head sort of mindset is resting. Is that make a bit of sense, or not really? No, not at all. Maybe that's one bluff too tough.
No, I see what you're getting at, but
yeah.
Like, how are you going to communicate to people that you guys haven't just, you know, picked up these rigs off the street, like gone on eBay or whatever and bought someone's stolen rig?
Oh yeah, so we have all documentation. You can see it's almost like I've tried to make it a bit like British skydiving, but again, we're not associated, and we have books, we have checks, everything else. But so when you come onto it, it feels like a proper course. There's a way of doing things, paperwork checks, things get checked after every single jump. Pretty much like what we did at JSAT, which is very hard to explain what we do, but it is like that. That's what I've taken from my military background, working with the military, and put it into practice with the actual team itself. Yeah. I am the fun police, and Dave will tell you this. I'm 42 now, I'm working with really young lads. They literally just want to jump off everything, and there's me just going, hang on a second, let's do a bit of a risk assessment and all the rest of it. So it does, I've got a lot goes into it on that side.
Cool, I'm happy to see you're taking the JSAT ideology of making skydiving boring and taking it to base jumping.
Excellent, thank you very much.
Cheers mate, good proof.
Any more? Oh, up there.
Oh, we've got that. Thanks, Jacko. No.
Have you ever considered doing body suspension base jumps?
Second, sorry?
Have you ever considered doing body suspension base jumps?
Yeah, so body suspension base jumps, that's, you take your rise and you attach them to your body, and it's a bag deployment, so in fact the canopy is attached to your body and you're suspended underneath your own canopy by your skin. Some of the team members have done it. I looked at my friend and went, you know what, probably not the best for me. The guy that organised it showed me one guy that was pretty much twice the size of me. My team members turned to me and will go, you've got no excuse. However, there is a limit to what I will do, and that to me is a no-go. It's just another element. So like we talked about that headset. Some people think skydiving's crazy, base jumping, that to me is never going to happen for me. It's, why would you do it? So it's that level.
Because it's great fun.
Sorry?
Because it's great fun.
It's quite fun. Have you done it?
Not base jumping.
Oh, base jumping, okay. But yeah, no, as I said, some of the, on our Instagram page, if you want to have a look, there's a little video on there of doing it. It's not for me, but yeah, it's quite special. I think that's it.
I think that's it.
That's it. Cool.
Well, thanks again, everyone.
Thanks very much.
Oh.
Is anybody developing better kit for it? You know, is anybody interested in doing that?
So I know we got some old base jumpers in the crowd now. Going back to the 80s, they were just using skydive gear. From them, base gear was being produced. The technology now is come leaps and bounds.
Who's doing that?
So there's proper manufacturers. We represent Apex Base. They manufacture containers. The leading manufacturer for canopies is Ater. Yeah, and they're always progressing in designing.
And people are testing?
Yep, they have people that test it. Our team is not a testing team. That's something that I'm not really... Okay. I don't want to put those guys into that situation. It's not about that for us, but there are people that do test base canopies. They'll test them skydiving. Once they're happy, then they take it onto the shop floor.
Okay.
Yeah, it really is good to see that there is progression within the actual sport. It is getting a lot safer with the kit.
That's it.
That's it, is it?
Thank you.
Excellent. So again, thanks very much.
Thanks very much.
Cheers.